You tune to Risky Business. I'm your host, Brian Hutting. I must introduce my co-host, dear and quintessential Jono Shaw. Hello, Jono.
Hello, Brian. How are we doing today?
We're doing exceptionally well, thank you.
That's amazing. I'm doing very well, thank you.
So glad.
And looking forward to another show.
Yeah.
What do you have in store for us for today?
I think that in a very discombobulated, upside-down world where everything just seems to be going around in circles, that would probably be a good song. I think, what was that, Billy Preston? Going round in circles. Anyway, we're not playing that.
We'll pull it out of the archive.
Okay. But I think that it's such an important time for people to hold on to hope. You know, the world has been through so many iterations of challenge at different times in its life journey and life cycle, and in the history of humanity. You know, there've been, if you think of, imagine what it was like when you didn't have cell phones and communication and telegrams, telefaxes, let alone the more recent stuff. And
I'm old enough just to remember how that might have been. I mean, when my first cell phone was when I was in university. That gives you an idea of my age.
Yeah, okay.
So I do remember a time when we used to ride around on bicycles, and you had nothing else to do but to entertain ourselves.
But let's go back even further. Can you imagine you and your clan are busy planting crops, raising herds, getting on with raising children and getting by in the toughness of life, and you hear this sound, and next thing over the horizon comes someone like Genghis Khan and his horde, or Attila the Hun, and there was no warning, and rape, pillage, plunder. Times were never secure. Life was never secure. You were always fraught by challenges, as with the wild. Could you imagine? Tell me, on what day do animals in the wild, particularly the more victim-type animals like buck and deer and antelope and zebra and wildebeest and the likes, when do they take a day off or say, you know what, I'm going on holiday. I'm just going to chill out today. I'm putting down my tools and let's just see how life goes. Oh, you're not. You're on the money all the time. In fact, if you're not in the moment, if you're not, and it's not about being paranoid, but if you're not on top of your game in how you're living and how you're getting on, then in the wild you get eaten. It's a pretty conclusive event.
The only way I can think of it is hey, our buddy Fred was eaten yesterday. I think we're good for now.
So thank you, Fred. We'll celebrate Fred's life.
Yes. His sacrifice was noble.
But I think that right now there's so much complexity and uncertainty and so much rhetoric and so much information and so much of it not true and so much of it doom and gloom. And at what point do you discern between being suitably informed and being overwhelmed by what's going on? So, you don't want to stick your head in the sand and pretend to be an ostrich and have no idea of what's going on, albeit for some people that might really work. But, being in touch just enough to know what's going down, but not getting overwhelmed.
Ties into our message of hope today, because you've got to keep believing and stay in it and believe that there's a better tomorrow, right?
Well, exactly. But in the absence of hope, faith is, so faith, I think that faith and hope are mutually inclusive. But I think that it's important for people to know that hope is not simply a feel-good emotion. It is a cognitive system that you can develop and leverage to your benefit and the benefit of others. So it's something that you can work at. And here's a beautiful saying from a famous Scottish author and writer and politician, actually, in the name of Samuel Smiles, who lived around about the 1890s. And he said, hope is the companion of power and the mother of success. He who hopes strongly has within him the gift of miracles. And so, you've got an opportunity in and through hope to actually positively impact people around you. And the thing here is, it's not about blind optimism. It's actually about going through each day in the most engaging, positive, and positively expectant ways to get to a better place of being, whatever that means to you, and it can be different things to different people. It's something that we can take charge of and take control of. There's so many things we can't control. We can't control what the markets are doing with the tariff wars. We can't control the proliferation of Chinese sales where American sales used to be and how that's affecting stock markets. We can't do anything about that other than respond to it in whatever way we have to. We can choose to buy shares, sell shares, not do anything at all, or to get ourselves into a space of a real spin of worry and fear and anxiety. And that serves nothing other than to make you ill and to make the people around you feel uncomfortable, unsafe, uncertain. So when those people in history have stood up and stood out and acted in a way that was against all odds and against all expectations and did the unlikely, then people thrived. I mean, you think about General Patton. I mean, he was amazing because he was always out there on the battlefield, standing up in the car that he was in. He wasn't hiding behind it or hiding behind a boardroom desk. He was often in the midst of the battle, and he never got hit. He never got hit by shrapnel. He never got shot. I'm not saying, you can deflect all fiery darts by just being brazen. But when you step out in faith, when you take an engagement of hope, when you expect good things to happen, isn't it amazing how so often the world and the universe decides to move in a way that fulfills on that expectation? You've heard about and read about things like The Secret and, Robin Sharma and a host of great inspirational speakers and the likes. And so many of them concur around the fact it's how you start out with your expectation, your positioning, your framing of it in your mind and in your conscious thing against all odds. If you look at the facts, or what are the perceived facts, or the selection of data that you have as your point of reference, and yes, we often have to do that in order to make good decisions. We need to make informed decisions. But if we simply look to the facts and believe that that's the start and the end of it, well, then we've confined and boxed ourselves into a corner, painted ourselves into a corner, because you've got to realize that there's a whole lot more other facts. There are a whole lot of other truths. There are a whole lot of other laws and principles that prevail in the universe, some of which we don't even know yet, that yet inadvertently get introduced and get engaged when certain circumstances of human behavior and human psyche and human expectation take place. Because there are things that I could tell you golf stories, John, till they come out. In fact, I am going to tell one because maybe some of the listeners are golfers, because it's just such a powerful statement of expectation. I was playing with a group of friends in a competition at the Kalani Golf Course in Johannesburg. And it was something called a 4-ball alliance, 1 score to count. What that meant was all 4 players were playing together as a team, and on each hole, you took the best score and you put that on the card. Okay. So we were firing, we were shooting the lights out, and we came in off the 16th hole, that was the 15th hole, which I, funny enough, had birdied, and we're all very, very excited, and got up on the tee of the 16th, which is the 5th most difficult hole on the course. And it's got this, it goes up to a right angle dog leg down to the left, with big blue gum trees all on the left. And we get down, and I get down to tee off, and as I'm getting down to hit the ball, one of the caddies drops the bag of clubs. and completely unsettles me, and I slap my drive in front of the ladies' tee, sitting up nicely on a tuft of grass, but it was very disappointing. Anyway, my three partners hit their drives up past the corner, and I get down and I think, look, in for a penny, in for a pound, and I take on the most ridiculous shot with a 3-wood, and I miraculously hit it up over the trees, past the corner, into the fairway. So we're walking up towards our balls, and I'm talking to the one guy saying, this game's all about visualization and expectation and seeing yourself hitting the shot and only focus on where you want the shot to go and be amazed at how it works. We get up to the corner. They all stick their second shots on the green, quite a little way from the pin. And I say, well, I tell you what, I'm going to hit my third shot. I'm going to get it close to the hole, and I'm going to sink it for the 4. Then you guys can all have a go for the birdie. And I get down. I can still feel it, still remember it. I was about 140 meters out, and I hit it into the hole without a bounce.
Wow.
33. The odds on that after my first shot of me getting a par, let alone a birdie, were off the charts. So it's amazing what happens when you expect good things to happen. We're talking about hope and joy and faith and making things happen in your life when things seem absolutely impossible, daunting, desperately negative, abounding in stress, not meeting the bills, not making it through. And the problem with that is that if you allow that to happen, you become paralyzed, you become inert, you become inactive. And when you're inactive, nothing happens. And the thing about positivity and the power of a positive mindset, it only becomes impactful when you act upon it. As with so many things, it's all in the fulfillment. It's all in the enactment. There's an interesting concept, and I might have shared it with you before. There was a book written around about 2000 on mergers and acquisitions. It was a time of huge M&A, and it was a book written by, I think it was a guy from PwC, and it was called 5 Frogs on a Log. And it comes with the anecdote. It says 5 frogs are sitting on a log. One decides to jump off.
That sounds familiar.
How many are left? So I'll ask you that question, Jono. 5 frogs on the log. One decides to jump off. How many are left?
I would say something like the log would tilt
the answer is
knock all the others off, or something along those lines.
Because deciding to do something and doing it are two different things. He just decided to jump off the log. And so we decide to do many things. Right. People decide to do lots of things. People even make the choice to tell people that they've decided to do certain things, and then it doesn't happen. That, of course, becomes embarrassing and becomes demotivating, and people then even stop deciding to do things. And it's so important that everything that you decide upon has a follow-up action, that no matter how daunting, no matter how huge the task or the journey, each one starts with the first step. And it's, okay, so what's the first thing I'm going to do here? It's like starting to write a book. Just write something down. No matter how dodgy or bad or wishy-washy it is, write something down and start there. You can retrofit it. You can come back retrospectively and edit it. That's the beauty of things. You can edit it. Start to write. Get the thoughts out there, because so long as they sit encapsulated in your mind, they're going nowhere. And I know this from my own personal experience. I mean, I get caught up in this trap over and over when I'm writing a column or a piece or a thought leadership piece, where I get caught up in trying to say it perfectly right from the outset. And it's, you know what? I've gotten much better with this. Just get it down. Let's create a straw man. Just do it. I mean, this is what I do at work with my highly impactful executive associate and assistant, is I dictate mails to her. And I just get it out there, and she knows that she always will send it back to me to edit it, because no matter how well I try and articulate it to her first time, I'm going to make changes. So don't get caught up in the blah, blah. Just get it down there, blah, 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 no matter how silly it sounds. Yeah. And now I've got it in front of me. It's very easy to quickly delete that word, add that word, put a comma here, take that out, put that in. Bang, I've got it. go. Whereas when you sit down and try and make this perfect scripting of whatever it is you want, you're going to get stuck in treacle.
Yeah, yeah. No, I hear this. This is something I think about quite often. About let me start saying something about the conscious and subconscious, because if you do something absolutely consciously, sometimes you get in the way of your own thoughts and you do your own thing, and oftentimes we expect too much of ourselves to begin with, and I'd say that there's a certain amount of subconscious sort of revision that goes on that we need to do. And the way I've always thought of it, if is like this movie Inception.
Sorry, yes, Inception. I have dreams like that.
It's about dreams within dreams within dreams.
Let me not interrupt you, but yeah.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So my principle is that you don't start with the big things. It's just one little idea that you refine, and then drop it into the room for everybody to consider, and you just let it smelter and kind of build upon itself, and eventually you've got an avalanche of things that are coming based on this one idea. I've often thought about it that way, that you don't maybe you don't hit a home run to begin with. You kind of got to work at it and build it. Yeah. And there's a subconscious component to that, where it builds in the background. So by you putting your thoughts down, you start to put this idea into reality. And the moment you come back to it, you start coming back to it with a different perspective, and you constantly refine this thing and, build upon it that way. And that's what I sort of want to touch on with what you're saying about, visualizing and bringing things into practice. How much of that is actually, hey, I'm going to do it. I've made the decision.
Absolutely.
But it's actually more about what happens in the background as you implement this.
I'm not going to launch into talking about my dreams within dreams. I'm going to save that for maybe later or another talk. But it's so important in the process that I was sharing with you. So I have this amazing PA who produces this for me in Grease Lightning, that we have people that we can depend on and people that support us. And then we part of a support mechanism for other people. You so often heard about, standing on other people's shoulders. And, it's so important that we have people around us that we can trust, respect, and even in wherever possible, love, and.
Totally. I think it's also about something like role models. I look up to various composers and so on, and musicians that have been playing, and oftentimes it's not just them that have made it happen. They've had an entire team around them that makes it look as if it was seemingly easy at the end of the day. And so we do need that support mechanism.
Absolutely. And in fact, realize that what we focus on, we become.
Yeah, life is what you make it, right?
We focus, we become.
Got to have a positive perspective and never lose the hope to get through everything that we need to get through.
And our subconscious minds are incredibly powerful, millions of times more powerful than our conscious minds. But what we frame with our conscious minds and what we say with our mouths, the words that we speak, the thoughts that we entertain, the data we allow to get onto our prefrontal cortex and occupy our minds, are the things that will shape us.
I think that future visualization is also important. I think it drives into the sort of background and the subconscious, so to speak, again. So one of the key things is, like, let's say you've got a negative mindset and you're constantly sort of taking on the woes of the world, putting too much on your shoulders. What's your advice to say turn that around? How do you now shape those things differently or approach things differently to start being more hopeful?
So there's a whole new line of thinking and science called positive intelligence. And much has been written about that. But really the principle is this, is that we, as a rule, we have these survival systems our fight or flight systems
Mm.
that protect us when danger is near.
Mm.
And they do a great job when that happens, because they get the system to push adrenaline in and to enable us to escape and to move on. However, for most of the time, like 95% of the rest of the time, because we're no longer living in the jungle, if we're living in a jungle, it's a different type of they just simply serve to actually pull us down, because in them reside things on judgment, on guilt, on anger, on resentment, on fear, anxiety. All of those things are bubbling away there. They reside in the brainstem, in the limbic brain, and in the left brain. And those things come in and they rule the roost. They tell you that you're not good enough. They tell you to, they just the system is working there, and the more it works, the more entrenched it gets. So we have the ability to intercept these thoughts, to choose not to allow that thinking, no matter how entrenched, no matter how historic, no matter how ratified by experiences that we've had. We've got to bring in what they call the sage, which are the positive intervening perspectives, and cut through that. I use that mantra that I think I've shared with you before: instant dismissal. Say it out loud. Dismiss the thought. Dismiss it. Take action there and then. That's the best way. Don't play with it. Don't flirt with it. Don't let it over. Just instant dismissal. I'm not going to accept that. I'm not going to accept that. And replace it with a positive perspective or thought. That I am good enough. I am able to. And even get into there the affirmation, the articulation of positively in the now stated things, that, I am a healthy, vital human being. I am a whatever. I mean, you can think, I could draw up a list of 100 affirmations that people could use and say about themselves. And you start, you take it out of that journey, you actually start creating new neural pathways. And that can actually be measured and seen in your brain, and in a very short space of time. So the more, with everything, so I'm at this juncture point and a situation occurs, and I can either do the opt-out option, which is the easiest one because it doesn't require any effort, or the be negative one, or be critical, or whatever it might be, or be judgmental of myself, or such, oh, you stupid idiot, or whatever. Or I can do the more difficult one, which is to say, I'm actually going to work through this. So, for example, do I exercise or don't I? Not exercising is easy. You just sitting where you are. It requires no effort. But getting out of your chair and getting up and doing some squats, or running around the room, or whatever, bigger picture, go and run. You're not going to run a Comrades Marathon without starting with running around the block. So get into those programs, and they're not easy to start with. But once you get into the flow of it, whether it's positive actions like getting healthy, or whether it's positive actions like how you're thinking, or choosing not to eat certain things, it's like, oh, but that's so nice. And you know what, I'm just going to do it just tonight. I'm going to start tomorrow. And all these little things that creep in. Yes. It's like, no, say no now. Say no now when it's difficult. The best time, there was an amazing woman the first American woman to climb Mount Everest. And her coach said to her, what you've got to do is to train when it's difficult, not when the weather's good. Go out and climb when it's snowing and blizzarding and icy cold and horrible and raining. Why? Because that's what you're going to encounter on the mountain. And if you want to be ready for it, go and face those elements. But most of all, face the mountain within. You got to climb the mountain within. What's that mountain inside of you that's stopping you from moving forward? That's getting in the way of what you're doing. If these are the things that you want for your life, what are you doing to move towards them right now? And the answer in many instances is nothing. Well, if you do nothing to move towards those things that you want, what's going to change? What's going to happen to enable you and move you forward towards those desired goals? And it's so important that no matter what age you are, no matter where you are in life, it's not a competition. You don't have to be better than the Joneses. You don't have to be better than anybody else. It's about how you move your view of self, your capability set to that next level of play. So for those people who've been injured in an accident or whatever it might be, or had an invasive operation, you've got to go through the reparative physiotherapy and things like that, and you've got to get yourself to walk again, and you've got to get yourself to whatever it is again. And it's not easy, and it's tough, and it's hard, and you don't like doing it. But with each step you take, you're one step closer to being healthy again, to being fit again, to maybe even being fitter than you ever were before. Why not, in fact, set the bar past the hole? You know that there's that lovely expression of golfers, putt past the hole. That's why golfers fail to sink a lot of their putts, because they putt short of the hole. They always just leaving it a little bit short. Push past the hole. Doesn't matter if it goes right past. Doesn't matter. You can putt back. You know, and just putt it past the hole, because then you've got a chance of it going in every time. Every time, if you putt past the hole, there's a chance of it going in. Putt short, it's got no chance of going in. So in life, putt past the hole. Stretch yourself, push yourself that little bit further every time, just that little bit. And if you don't get it, doesn't matter. You're working at it. Tomorrow's another day. You know, we'll get up, we'll rise up, and yeah.
So there's one saying I like from Kung Fu. They've got different colors representing different aspects of the training, and the one I've always taken home with me is the color of the floor is gray in the what dojo. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but the color gray represents patience, because when you are working out and you're going through all that hard work, you know, doing what you need to do to grow the muscles, to learn, what you're looking at, the floor. And you are half the time needing patience with yourself to make sure that you are able to get through what you need to get through. And I think that's a nice analogy for what you're trying to say as well.
Wonderful. I used to do Shaolin martial arts, actually.
Yes, I know.
More than Wing Chun Kung Fu. It was wonderful.
That's it. That's what I've been doing for the last 10 years or so myself. So
we're
kindred spirits there.
Well done, you. It's fabulous. Si Heng?
Yes, Si Heng. And I want to bring it back to the way you started talking about, you know, imagine yourself back in, you know, the 1400s, 1300s, or whatever the case might be. I like the idea of, there's a cave in Sudwala. You probably know the Sudwala caves.
Yes.
And one of the aspects of those caves is the rock, or the ringing rock, that they used to have when they saw invaders coming. They would have this rock that they used to go and hit, and it would echo throughout the cave to let people know that there was something up and that they could hide and protect themselves. And your idea of dismissing things, to me, makes me think that's like our ringing rock, is to let us know that there's hope, and we need to do what we need to do to preserve ourselves and to make life a better day. And there is a way to preserve our minds and our thinking for a better day.
Absolutely. And most of all, center it on love.
Yes, for sure.
And in that way, it's the old thing of, if you're not with the ones you love the ones you're with, and take time to show and tell the ones you love just how much you do. And it's so important to believe in angels and have them encamp about you.
And I'd like to mention that you're the merchant of hope, Brian. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you. May many encamp about you, and may your life be rich and full of hope.